Dunkin' Donuts is one of the most well-known coffee shops in the world, and certainly one of America's favorites. In fact, the company's slogan is "America runs on Dunkin'." Today, there are almost 13,000 Dunkin' Donuts locations throughout the United States and 46 other countries. But many people don't know the story behind its creation and how it came to be synonymous with donuts, coffee, and the American people. In the city of Boston, Massachusetts, William Rosenberg was born on June 10, 1916. Little did his parents, Nathan and Phoebe, know that he would soon change the world. But before that would happen, young Bill was just a normal Massachusetts kid. He was one of 4 children in his family, and because his parents were Jewish German immigrants from Russia living during the Great Depression, times were tough for the Rosenbergs. While he worked for some time at the family grocery store, it soon became clear that he would need to get his own employment as well, and he worked odd jobs around the neighborhood. These included shining shoes, delivering newspapers, laundry, and selling ice cream. This time in Bill's life was extremely challenging, but it taught him the importance of a solid work ethic and gave him the confidence to know that if he set his mind to something, he could most certainly get it done. When the Great Depression arrived and Bill was only 13 years old, in the 8th grade at the local public school, he was forced to leave school and get a job in order to keep food on the table and a roof over their heads. He got a job at Simcoe, delivering ice cream out of a refrigerated truck. And it was actually this job, and one relationship in particular, that would change the course of the young man's life. Harry Winokur was the accountant for the company at the time and taught the young and ambitious Rosenberg all about balancing the books, spreadsheets, and so on. Because he had this skill set, Bill was able to move up the ranks in Simcoe, from delivery boy to national sales manager by the age of 21. Although he may have continued working his way up the ladder at Simcoe, everything changed when World War II began. In order to avoid the draft, Bill needed an essential job in the States. Therefore, he headed over to Bethlehem Steel in Hingham, Massachusetts, and quickly secured himself a position. This was the second time in his life that he needed to learn from those who knew more than himself. And Bill did just that. He asked his fellow workers to show him the ropes, and because he was a quick learner and dedicated worker, he impressed management immediately. Bill continued to be promoted within the company, from an electrician in training to union delegate and contract coordinator. He was trusted and even beloved by his co-workers, which proved to be exactly what he needed to avoid being drafted into the war. Even though Bill never had to fight, his younger brother did, and when he didn't come back from Europe, Bill's life changed forever. He realized that there were things he wanted to do, and as a long life was no guarantee, he wanted to get started right away. The idea was to start his very own business, and as he had experienced such success in a variety of businesses over the years, he knew he could do it. At this time, he was offered a job at a catering company, but with his big dreams in mind, Bill turned the job down. The owners had such faith in the young man's abilities that they counteroffered a third of the stake in the company instead of just a job. However, Rosenberg didn't like the way his partners did business, and even though he was making money, his moral code prevailed, and he separated from the two and once again decided to go out on his own. This time, he would make it happen. Although his time with the catering company was not financially successful, he did learn something extremely important. He saw that 40% of their sales were in coffee, and because most Americans didn't know how to make a cup of quality coffee, he saw a niche in the market that he was ready to fill. With the little money he had, Bill Rosenberg ordered an industrial-sized coffee machine and top-quality milk from local dairy farmers. In order to make his money back, he would need to charge 10 cents per cup, which was much higher than anyone else was charging at the time. No one in the industry believed in Bill's dream of selling quality cups of coffee for a higher price point. They thought his idea was essentially dead in the water, but whether it was his experience and know-how or simply his immense determination, Bill ignored everyone and started his business. His first idea was to sell his coffee and food out of a truck, but as there were few left after the war, he changed tactics and purchased 10 taxis and built 10 insulated trailers to hook onto the back of the cars. Bill decided to serve donuts, as well as sandwiches, pastries, soups, and of course, coffee. In other words, Rosenberg invented the food truck, and people loved it. His on-the-go offerings were a hit throughout the greater Boston area, and the cars were mentioned in the Boston Herald newspaper. He made so much money that he was able to open a few cafeterias as well. And true to his entrepreneurial spirit, Bill didn't stop there. Only 3 years after he opened, he realized something else. As much as people loved his quality coffee, they were also enthralled with his top-notch donuts. Donuts made up 40% of his sales, so in order to make more money, he decided he would find a way to make his own instead of purchasing them from a third-party seller. He hired Alvin Johnson, a donut maker with years of experience. Bill then leased a space in Quincy, Massachusetts to set up his donut shop in 1948. He called it Open Kettle and set it up quite differently than any other shop that existed in the city. First, there were seats inside, and instead of just a few donut options, he had dozens. And of course, he continued to sell his unique and high-quality coffee. The idea was simple. Coffee and donuts are like husband and wife. They simply go together. Once again, Bill was right. The business thrived, and after only 1 year, it was making more than $3,000 per week. 2 years after opening, Bill changed the name to Dunkin' Donuts, and the soon-to-be empire was born. Dunkin' Donuts expanded from 1 to 5 stores by 1955 and decided that in order to expand across the country, he wanted to franchise. But at the time, franchising as we know it today didn't actually exist. Unfortunately, although Bill thought it was a great idea, his business partner and mentor from his childhood, Harry Winokur, didn't believe in the plan, and their disagreement, along with other behind-the-scenes problems, caused Harry to pull out of the partnership. At this time, Rosenberg was required to buy Harry out of his half of the business and found himself in debt for the first time in his life. Franchising was his only way out of the financial hole, as he did not have enough money to build more Dunkin' Donuts locations without it. However, as franchising was considered a bit of a con at the time, many states had outlawed it. He started the International Franchise Association and brought together reliable business owners. It was a success, and with only a few years, the association was well known and trusted, and there were over 100 franchised Dunkin' Donuts locations throughout the country. During the 1960s, Bill decided he wanted to focus his energy on a different dream, making Dunkin' Donuts a publicly owned company. It's important to understand that Bill had a personal ethos. He believed every man or woman, no matter where they came from, what they believed in, or how much money they had the right to be financially successful. He even said that he wanted everyone who bought or worked for Dunkin' Donuts to become a millionaire someday. And when Dunkin' Donuts did finally go public, that's exactly what happened. Because of his dedication to this project, he decided to hand over the reins of the company for day-to-day responsibilities to his son, Bob. And luckily, Bob proved to be just as much of an entrepreneurial genius as his father. By 1998, 25 years after Bob was put in charge, there were more than 2,500 Dunkin' Donuts locations, and the company was taking in more than $2 billion every year in revenue. Today, Dunkin' Donuts proudly has almost 13,000 stores around the world. Its sales continue to increase every year as they impressively keep up with the ever-changing preferences of the masses. In addition to dozens of donut varieties and quality drip coffee, they also offer sandwiches, bagels, eggs, espresso and lattes, and so much more. However, in 2019, the executives realized that the majority of their sales were in beverages, and they spent billions of dollars on a rebrand. Although most people still call their local shop Dunkin' Donuts, the stores are officially called simply Dunkin'. The rebrand was questioned by many as to whether or not it would be a waste of money, but it hasn't slowed them down one bit. And as well as continuing to improve its products, Dunkin' Donuts has been known over the past 50 years for its impressive marketing campaigns and catchy slogans. Even when Starbucks began to make its way into the hearts of Americans, many people stuck with Dunkin' Donuts as their go-to coffee shop because of its affordable prices and even simple loyalty to the American dream. Bill Rosenberg's original mission of providing fantastic customer service along with quality products has become a cornerstone in the business. and Dunkin' Donuts has been named the #1 coffee shop for customer loyalty 12 years in a row, as it continues to be a beloved part of America's daily routine. Even though the Rosenbergs no longer own Dunkin' Donuts, as it is instead a subsidiary of the Baskin-Robbins Company, there is no doubt that what Bill Rosenberg wanted to create all those years ago still exists. The company itself is currently worth over $6.5 billion, and although the industry continues to change, it doesn't seem like Dunkin' Donuts is going anywhere. Hungry for another fascinating business story? Click on the following video to hear the crazy story about the lone soldier who invented Chick-fil-A.